Three, two, one. Good afternoon. Pretty much we're going to be doing welcome to the retreat. I want to thank everybody for your time and commitment to be here. We appreciate it very, very much. Looking forward to it. And now I'm going to turn it over to Whitney and to Janet. Thank you.
So just to get us started, I shared an agenda last week. If you studied and memorized that agenda, you'll notice that your break is 10 minutes later. And that was just because as I really got into it, we didn't so much time. So I hope that you all had a good lovely lunch. And yeah, for just a little housekeeping, if you're new to this space, you will find the restrooms, you're gonna walk out toward the main entrance and then to the right. And there's kind of some these are lockers, and the restrooms are right, you can use there. There's also a place for water bottles. And if there's other needs that you have later, please just let us know. And James is gonna be here today to help with any logistical challenges we have, needs. And there are divergence, so I care for our divergence. And so these are just, if there's something to take on and pass along, if there's something in here that would help you today, you're welcome to take something to visit with. If you hate the thinking pad, I always tell people the first task is to get it open. And yeah, well, I'll put those back. I don't want to say trade it out also them in the actual room, so you're welcome to trade out as you'd like. We are going to spend our time two work blocks. One looking at our professional culture. Really, when I say looking at, we do a lot of talking. So I've created a container for us to be together to clear each other. There's not a lot of content in these slides. These slides are really to kind of like ground us in like what was the instruction, what was the task, what's next, what's the topic. But the content is really among you all here. We are going to spend some time back at tables in some breakout spaces for probably most of our day, just because that way we can get in smaller groups and actually hear to each other and all kind of help surface what insights, what the takeaways are as we build their content for our work. And in the afternoon, we're going to transition a little bit to speaking technically about the board spaces, board spaces. Generally, those are board meetings, business meetings, the work sessions, as like the primary space that we're talking about. And then we'll get more clear as we go. And I'm going to explain that because this isn't, we're not going to get everything done. Right? Our takeaways are really going to be that next, right? And where do we go from here? What's unresolved? Questions?
Is everyone here from the capital board?
Sean.
And Penny's here, but just not sitting with us right now. She's handling an issue.
I also want to acknowledge that the content and the direction of this retreat was co-created with board leadership, Marcus, Sharon, Tina joined, and also for kind of finalizing what we would focus on, what our takeaways would be, and for Lisa, Tammy, and Lindsay. So the idea being that this is truly valuable, mutually co-created in the space. The ultimate that are really bridging the relationship between the board and the and we'll talk a little bit about some assumptions that underline that. But just recognizing that they're shared leadership with distinct roles, and so bridging this relationship so that we can work well together is valuable. We want to establish what the shared board culture are. What are our working norms? How do we address conflict when it comes up? How do we communicate effectively with each other? during meetings. And then, that would share our space. Times where the board and having are working together are pretty small, and the big tight on that is that. So what we're working towards for today, is to have clear definitions of the board and having roles that are understood across. Obvious. We are going to walk away, with a set of working norms. It needs to start, I'm doing this because it needs to start working, right? Sometimes we don't really know the working norms for the work until we start practicing them. And developing some shared understanding of how we work together. So I really feel like at a point during the day, someone is like, what are we doing? What are we working towards? There's a little visual. So you can come back to that. This is really what we are targeting. And another thing that I just want to spend some time speaking to, because it came up in our planning spaces, you know, we have some assumptions that where we are still coming in, and just being clear about those, speaking them are helpful. Which is one, there are two separate working bodies that are the board is a specific entity, the cabinet is a specific entity, and you know, because we kind of discussed later, there's some compromise in relating these two groups together. Yes, we don't want to conflate them because there are separate roles, but there is value in working well. There are power differentials that exist in the space. So, you know, there are positional. Our members are elected by the general public to represent them. We have people with various different identities that come into the space that bring power with them, and also, you know, there's a different level of economic experience. Some people have been in their roles for 20 years. Some people, this is their first or second year in their role, and so those come into account. Another assumption that we discussed was that we really want to use this time to set a foundation to move towards better outcomes for students, their outcomes for our system. And we want to do that with a forward-looking way and a forward-looking position, as opposed to litigating the past. We also discussed that this group collectively is really responsible for leadership, like in the community, in formal ways and informal ways, and so this is an opportunity to practice that and defining what it's like. And that, you know, this is not the last kind of bullet, is like, this is the beginning, this isn't the end, we're not going to figure it out, we're not going to have a great conversation here, but we're doing this intentionally as we set this foundation. Wrong thoughts there. Anything else that feels foundational to kind of how we're moving to this space? And the last thing I wanted to stop her, I'm just going to put this up here, is as we were doing planning, this notion that or metaphor of our wind came up a lot in terms of recognizing that there's value that comes from tension. I am this recently been meeting a lot of paradox. Two things can be true at once. We can both have experience challenged and be open to growth and change. We can both radical. Yeah. We can recognize that in the past there has been maybe some harm, we can also commit to healing. So what offers, like, in the space, like staying in the tension means avoiding a place where, like, you get to the point where you want to come out, it to be like, this isn't worth it, I'm not interested, I don't want. So we want to avoid getting to that space or retreating into past patterns of like, it's not even worth it for us to have this conversation, like staying in the healthy tension. And being curious, having this sort of rumble language and bring the language poster with me of saying, you know, what did you mean by that? I'm curious about that. That's not my experience. Or tell me more about it. But really just staying in that space of curiosity. But also we want to avoid breaking the band. So we don't want to get to a place, I don't want anyone to get to a place where they feel like they have something that's gonna slip from them. And I think we can also use this metaphor for the system as well, as we know that there's not a lot of margins in public education when it comes to money, when it comes to time. And so when we're in that tension place, you know, really being clear about what's possible, but not to a point where we either break the band or feel like we're being. So this is, we're gonna get into some agreements, but I wanted to just offer this or recognize that you're not. So before we get into work, I really like us thinking about attention, medical attention, what norms and agreements just for today you all would like to see put into the space to guide how we are today. How we work together, how we communicate today. All suggestions.
Listen.
Listen.
Fill that out, listen to understand, not to respond.
Other rooms for it.
Assume that everyone has good intentions.
This may be just personal for me in the moment, but like we have a school that's in a little bit of a crisis right now. I need to like feel like I can step away without letting people feel down. So
So kind of giving space for like
Mhm.
what comes up.
yeah, because I just can't think just a couple of thoughts.
So the extension to taking care of yourself.
Something about like seeking clarity rather than assuming that you know what somebody means by something.
Yeah, it's like ask for clarity.
I was gonna say approach with curiosity. Person. Also, I see something about race. How do we give each other things?
Also like the one sometimes that is about like accepting and acknowledging that sometimes you may have like non-closures. Like we may be in the middle of working on something and we're not there yet. And we have to like sit with that. And other things might be about. Today specifically, that might mean like agreeing to try something that isn't perfect or finished, but we try it.
was thinking, maybe but I was thinking just to be open to maybe changing perspective that you might have.
But you might have this somewhere else, but we talked about the need to not do more, like our goal here is to do better, so I'm more on the rail, like trying to be conscious about not adding. Make adjustments to pay. While the English is. Works very, yes.
So I said consideration.
I want to tag onto that one and connect it back to number 2.
Yep.
You're still responsible for your impact. Even if you have good intentions, I'd like to recognize what the impact. The second one, and I don't know if you made this up any, reading this one. But there are individuals in this room. We are not the cabinet and we are not the board. Yes, we are the superintendent. There's assuming that one's speaking for all or.
So like, I love that one of just like speak from the mind, right? Speak with an eye as opposed to a we or a they.
I think similarly, in one of our fair work with well, and I think there is a third distinction, which is different.
Yeah, call out, watch your, yesterday called out and like those 3 models. Sorry,
Just to be clear, like, this is a. No comment. I was gonna say, like, lessons leave, specifics stay, but we're actually, so everything leaves.
For me, it's be appreciative, like just be in a space. It's a beautiful space. There's people here that volunteer their time, give up time with their family. This is careers and things that we're dedicated to improving the lives of students. And I feel a great sense of appreciation for being here together with all of you, the work that we're collectively doing and in this beautiful environment.
Offer. There are diverse ways, just even neurological ways that we think, process, that would be done.
Stevie, but I didn't tell you all in the class. Your retreat is planned to capture how different people think and act. So there will be diversity, and I know that certain of the people come through will be like, oh my God. And the third will be like,
We're walk area.
I'm just gonna say, I would rather be from the gym. So we have 12 more here. Listen to understand, not respond, assume good intentions, and attend to impact. And also kind of giving space for whatever comes up, like on some organic pieces, taking care of ourselves, asking for clarity, and approaching that with curiosity, giving grace and patience, accepting non-closure, being open to reminding. Consider where we can make a shift as opposed to an addition. When we're talking about our work, respect and attend to impact. Use of statements. We're talking about our perspectives. Be appreciative and grateful. And to honor diverse ways of thinking and so I'm gonna leave these below for here. I think when we move to our breakouts, I will move them to the back wall so that we can them. Because my approach to using my invitation and using these norms is rather than the same, 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the beginning of our agenda where we talk about these things is we're making an agreement to, we're making an agreement to use these to guide how we interact with each other today, which means if we feel like we've set out being appreciative and gratitude, we could call. I really want to into this conversation with student appreciation and I'm being stuck because I'm feeling this, right? I really saying, I really hear us listening together, but I don't think that really, it seems like we really want to get some mix. So we can use these to kind of follow each other into our conversations today. Which I think are going to be nice fun. I really do. I think they're going to be nice. Questions about these forms and any appreciations or reflections on how you want to use them? Share your comments. Yeah, sure.
Just, typically we have a preference. Typically something may come up that it's really not an agenda today. But if, 3 or 4 people start nodding their heads, we know that somehow we're gonna have to come back and visit. So I'd like to have a space to capture it.
Love it. Done. Anything else that folks would feel good? Good in terms of setting our retreat container before we get into our work? Maybe just an intentional invitation for you to hold us to our retreat norms as well. Sometimes it can be hard to follow in all these. So that's a objective.
But be nice and lovely.
I will be clear and kind. Be clear and as we get started here, we're just gonna get to work. So the first thing that we're gonna look at in terms of first work block is around defining professional culture as 2 bodies that are working together. Superintendent. So maybe it works 3 bodies, 2 less. And what this looks like. Our work is really to spend time talking about, defining, getting into what are our roles and responsibilities as a board and a cabinet. And I want to offer space for where there's issues in our play that come, right? I feel like that's really the meat of our discussion today. And then how we develop working norms to help us stay in those clear roles and responsibilities and drive positively where that is, where issues are, so that we are focused on outcomes for the district and outcomes for the students. Okay, so this is what I mean by professional. So we're gonna start this work by looking at roles and responsibilities. And we're gonna use kind of a Venn diagram just to organize our thoughts. For those of you that work with me, you know that I usually give you a visual organizer of some sort. You'll see a few today. And this is really just for those of us who like to see things visually, to put that down. We're gonna move directly into some small groups. So I want to give people this eyes on who's in there to help with this out, but just facilitate it for me quickly. 3 groups, split evenly with form of representation, superintendent, and supervisional superintendent, obviously Steve is in one room, and then cabinet throughout. At the table, when you move there, it would be helpful if there's someone who commits to being instructed, just so that everyone can contribute, but one person who's just gonna ensure that whatever we're talking about gets into the paper. Someone who will help us keep time, and then someone, because I'm doing a lot of harvesting, so here word, some harvesting, someone who will speak for the group, who will share that ideas and maybe things that come out. Everyone listens where what you're hearing. Great. So the first thing that we're going to do, and we're going to use this protocol a couple of times so you can get through it, is I like to make sure that people have a moment to capture their thoughts, right? There are some of us who are really quick verbal processors, and there's others of us that need a few minutes to get us thinking out and into and onto the paper. So we're going to take about 3 minutes to begin with to just kind of generate your own ideas about what are the primary roles and responsibilities of board and cabinet, how it shows up together. What do we want to get clear about in terms of roles? And also know that there can be things in the center of our Venn diagram. So first thing, I'll be giving 3 minutes to capture your own thoughts, and then I'll have there'll be an opportunity for everyone to go around the table and share what they're thinking. And your scribe will kind of go down where there is overlap. We're just going to get us started. I'm going to put a bunch of stickies out on our table, one thought, and one. And I use this rule just to like help go through ideas. As you're putting your ideas, do one note once. That way you don't have to separate communication and responsibility. Yes.
Question one about what you believe the primary roles and responsibilities of the board and having are now, or what you believe they should be in general.
I think it's what they should be, what we want them to be. I'm looking at Stephen, what's the right answer? Should. What, yes, this is framing out what we would like this working relationship and this sensation of roles and responsibilities to be.
Sure.
Okay. We're gonna need to do some chairs around, from too much table, so that we wouldn't want to. There's about 5 to 6 people per table, and so you're taking it. So let's take a couple minutes and move that away.
Ever.
Super. Yeah, 2. And right now. Yeah. Smile.
Yeah. That's perfect.
I'm excited.
Yeah, my question is, right. Yeah.
And so if you want to remember, see, ready to start, you can. And you sort of diagrams a way to kind of visually organize. That are coming around there. And I put this road over here for the scribe. If sharing, we are having discussions and other things that should be noted down. I feel all when we swear this on to the board.
Share some of that. No.
Management problems that maybe area in the management for our and we've got this in the middle. This is the results. Not just really action, but
Rising capitals.
Really.
Yeah.
So we're
So we're not. Slow message and celebrate for community. No, I was about to I retired. Super important. I didn't know that doesn't yes. Advocacy, I think, I think that's interesting. Before operations, on that. So I have, right, everything is different. We store our. Yeah. How they're really doing that. School years, it's supposed to be resort, we don't tip it in our whole life, right? And we were, if you have a problem, you're in filing goals, we have the evidence is in the we were. And for like, I'm able to second, getting them.
Direct, another district.
Oh, so,
How does it help? How does something really well? For our paper side,
well, I think, wow, that's the words. Those, okay, I'm like, no, for, that's a lot of people, work. So. Policy, yeah. We. Regulation. Yeah.
Let's just like, yeah, business to have. Yes.
Yeah, you make that sort of make one call. And you're going out to buy the things, buy the things. Yeah. Yeah. Right.
What's it, you know, it's like how we did funds. That's. The new, for me, I'm like, teachers, I think they're. There's what they want to get done. Yeah, it's. You go be the meetings and so there's a side of the reference in terms of. For that, Very good. It's kind of hard to remember. Yes, maybe it's, I think it's something. Like that schools and a triple events and that relationship. It's just a problem. It's why not? Yeah. What is well, it's all of us do very stuff. Yeah, no, so like the better that someone upsetting. Like that's yeah. Yeah. Fairly happy for an employee. Yeah. Be well. So you've got but as far as Every day. It's vacation or not.
Very, obviously, service. I see that. Sorry. I'm actually my 5 years. Yeah, I don't do work. Either as well, even but how was. I'm sorry, we're on machine itself. I'm sure that was.
That was one of the things. The federal government, no, in top right. And what? Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Say that. Some other guys say that, but you got a little bit more.
But it's like,
No, there's still. Yes. So, the fashion, I love it. So, and that's fine, I'm sorry. And we have, and we have. I think people older. So, I have to feel from January, reading for the districts. Lord, maybe 14, but now we usually. So we're celebrating. Well. That was sad. Farm sector here. This is pretty, you know, I still been here, like, oh, see, show every. And well, we can be on something, but I'm saying, so how can I put us there, just go, you know, just their day, so we know, right, and learn it. Evening, all of this. But that there also they have to be action and it's nice. There's a person I did and see the wish very cool. Sorry. Yes. Yeah.
But instead of being a seer, good. Maybe you're not. Focus. Well, the last system before. And so it was, and the revolution. Like, they were in the same, and what it was, you know, and then like, in public, and I was, for, right now, I'll do that, yes, it's probably not, that's, yeah. So, we were saying, for the rules, for the reason, yeah. I was not really sure. Like, when I was what? Yeah. It's like, they was maybe better than for us. Yeah. It's not like a person about it, it's very. The conversation we are having, it will be helpful for us to move into part two of this before we kind of first ideas. So if we have a second visual organizer that has two parts. And one of them are kind of navigating or safety issues with what I like to call them. And I think as we're talking about where there's clarity and where there's not clarity around roles and responsibilities, and what I'm hearing to well, people says, if you think the same word, we kind of meaning for what we need for that. Start putting those challenges or safety issues into that box. So we can kind of move them off of, is this a board? Is this a technical? Is this where there's interplay? And start generating what are the challenges that we get that come up around this working relationship, and be specific to the extent that you can. So like accountability, accountability is the word here, and there were different definitions of like what accountability means, which means when we say that word, we're just causing some like wires. And actually not moving that starts there. So, to make that the next part of the discussion, it's helpful to repeat this kind of process of taking a couple of minutes to generate ideas. Go on and do that in so you can get that. But same for the generate, or conversation generate. And then the second piece of this, we'll need to talk about what we think are going to be the contributions to these challenges. Okay, clear? So get that, yeah, we're meeting. So, we see the things, right? We can't just use more for the current company. We reform, yeah. It's like. But in your day-to-day, I might have to go. Like we tell you, but I don't know. So that I think now one's great, right? Like that one's some people miss it, I don't know. But then it's just all like I have been to do that. Stupid ideas on. You know, like I don't know if it's one of those ones. I don't know. Well, I think it's very long. Yeah. For either out. Get there. Yeah. Well, yeah, that starts the show.
Somewhere between. I think it's. Right. For sad. In some, it's like that's the ball. There's a lot of it's the way it super down from the board administration. I was, I can be surrounded with eager prayers. Because I was seeing it's long going. Perfect. Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah. But not speak. No, it's not.
It's like where it says. Yes. Six that. There's no possibility. Is that like for the life? That's there's 2 years for what?
So that's. And so we started interaction that was not sort of a line. My child was just. So there's nothing about that. So it's silent. I remember. Okay, so yes. But I am talking about it's probably some of you guys. Yes, and it's. Some of this were. It's serious. This is what I'm impressed with. That's. What? Let's say it's. I so yes. So that's some. Yes.
Have a couple more. So, care. As you do, that's.
Oh, yeah, I told you. Yeah. That was. They need to see. And they are curious. So we're seeing. So it's, I think that's how we have to share. I think you're there. We are. We have. That is different. It was so much. That's very the best. Yeah, some more. That's gonna go. You know,
I ever. Right. Right, so.
No, no, you're thinking there for words, but I had a lot of movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we go. So the big round, or my son, yeah. It's just a deal and everything else.
That's fine. She said, we're doing better. That would be standard. So it's the. We can do it. Well. Oh, okay. There's been, that's kind of. Really colors. So many files going on. All first, files. So that's not the middle. Just go through that. We've all.
So like, that's the and I'm not going to do something. Those students. Yeah, it's forgotten. It's a young off with sometimes so and say this is daily. It's just being lost.
First, two students. Someone else. Yeah.
And if you don't, you first like, I didn't have my dreams, that's what was, is that like, I talked about. I have, it's demonstrated. So, it's, and I go over, even with, like, so much water, I think it's. Yeah. Is that what we're what is the what? Yes, they had to matter, but that's. Yeah. That's where you have to talk to the teacher, right? I mean, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Well, I have a. So, and it's so beautiful. I think it's like, that's what we have. No, I think it's overwhelming, so we don't.
It's locked. When we said yes, it's started. It's already, it's a lot of the way. I mean, yeah, it's.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, I'm not. And others, that is an hour, just, question. But I really, right, yeah. Just we know the knowledge. Everything I want, so when I use it, it's going on to teachers. Right. There's no. Yeah, it's. It's really. It's new. Years and actually related to the because nothing. Okay, my next one, and say that. Talking and fun about really bad to know. We cannot allow it for a while. And we will realize that the well. No. Okay. I'm feeling that this is very well. Stand up. Yeah, no, there's a motion. But yes. That's not. That's not. It's fine. Yeah, right.
Considerations that we do in two. He said that. Yes. And we're like, want to come together. This. And it feels. Right. I don't want
Yeah. I'm trying not to turn over these. We can have separate. Should have the across the roof, which is all. And rather than diving deep into the roles and responsibilities, I want to bring us right here to kind of the crux of our working relationship and what really happens. I know that this group, these two groups got into a date right away. This group, so I don't know where we're at, right here, but I think you can see kind of where we want to go. So I'm curious to hear from.
want to be sad.
Challenges we're kind of around your working relationship and where we get in the situation board. Good. Policy, whether it's board versus administrative, and how we decide that. We think there's a challenge around board members stating interests versus actual policies or directives. We need to figure out how to clarify. We had a good discussion about when and how the board should ask questions of the government, both prior to and in the meeting, and that is about both content preparation and tone or professionalism. We talked about when we're making priorities and recommendations or trying to make trade-offs, who chooses or we identified a problem, a potential challenge around determining the board meeting agenda, exactly who's doing that. And then very specifically around board comments and clarifying what is board comments. And again, kind of into the directive or just talks to the public, clarify that. And clarifying should go to this document. So, and then we have a question around the word and what it means, who's accountable. Okay.
Pretty good conversation. You guys did okay.
Objective preference. Why? play through a little validation here. I'm curious what similar will start as like just seeding a conversation. What came up that was similar to all of you and me, you guys can say yes or no, just like no, that doesn't help. And if you didn't talk about that, but you agree with it, like, we can say, well, we also testing like, is this the way we want to definition? So this time, the policy action, whether it's, board policy or administrative policy, that come up in other groups. How boards state that, or how board members state their interests, and determining if it shows like that's interested, or if it's, moving toward the policy or directives.
In a way, it's kind of.
Yeah, we can.
How questions get asked, the context, the craft, and the tone, that matters. Who chooses, how priorities are made around priority populations and municipality, there was a lot of missing. What is it, staff, what is it, board, like, where does that, direction lie? Don't, you were what, you're sticking,
Example around revised routes and choosing between like providing access to trade schools to South County versus for kindergartners to walk a shorter distance. And if we determine which of those are actually about equity or the highest priority,
For some reason, that's not. We talk about similarly, like one part of the setting, competence, trust and competence, in whoever is making the decision.
and it's not from Mary. And I think that, I think that you guys are talking about that kind of like, it shows up in this question asking.
Yes, we did talk.
That these two are not. Maybe we'll come back to this, but I don't think there's a really good example of the decision-making process. Agendas, like how we're gonna order the most of stuff on.
We all follow.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the purpose of the I don't know how that part.
it's related to the board when a board member says something, how should it be received by? Is it now they should go do it or right now? Or that should be passes the policy their stuff.
Communications that go through, like being clear about how communications flow to or what speed.
Yes,
Between the board and cabinet, and how should they either always most spring minutes times?
Did that come up in other skills?
yes,
Accountability, getting some clarity around what we have with accountability.
yes.
That's
We
leader.
we didn't get very far on defining, but we noted that it's different. Two by
And then you all mentioned trust and competence. Okay. Are there other stations that you want to have finished?
we talked about it on staff, staff needs. You know, we might be hearing, excuse me, I'm hearing from a teacher. And the leaders of the principals are reporting something else. How do we manage that? We're all talking about the same thing, or do we bring the same message to staff?
We talk about origin there, but we also talk about transparency. How do we prioritize what the board is needing here? And I think that's the area moment to express the things that they've heard and us. We talk about not only having really having society of meetings, but also operational staff. So you know, of course, students out there, it's 15 days, or so. You know, finances, one of our last year, was pretty down for this time, but we certainly do a lot of, let's go to the schools and let's see how much they're doing, but if we have to reduce staff on every fund, it's not going to help. We're going to on board and probably be very close to, we got about that. Very nice.
Yes.
And how we actually approach it.
So yes, typically, and deliver a message to staff.
And the other thing we talked about is how during those board meetings to have experts in subjects back in cabinet. Sometimes when there's subjects coming up in board meeting, could they be more involved? That would die or
Especially being respectful about folks, you know,
right.
What is your market?
being respectful of superintendent's time, being responsibilities, based on engagement, like. But I think we gave an example of Bill hearing talk about something that we saw in the public, there's things that's up. So then I gotta go, Steve, like, I mean, I would do that in the transition away, especially when we're talking about something specifically. And it may not be what we talk about, maybe we can get to later, but it's part of life. Maybe come back to it the next board year, but we want to respect that for the person that we may.
Somebody's presenting information and question. Or calling it. Or she says, anyone, rather something. Rather than doing that, I think that is just, so that it looks for back there. Songs or video and calling this again. I think that conversation where the board meetings are not structured to be an authentic dialogue between board and community. And so where is that opportunity for? Shouldn't be idea of presenting for anything, feelings, like on the curriculum or. I think what you said. Every first one, or influence. Why is it kind of be a?
Can you say it again?
Board meetings are not structured to be authentic dialogue between board and county. And so where is that opportunity? Probably, where is it going? Recognizing that some cases like presentation we make, but those aren't, that's not. Or it's down meeting or we have an average. What do we miss? I guess my follow-up stuff, what do we miss by not having a board meeting structure that allows that? And when we fix it, they're relevant. Is the purpose. Yeah, I mean, I think about one of the most like impactful board meetings I would have is talking about IT and we got asked some questions and he, in a way, kind of suggested questions to start, and it felt authentic and it felt like we were getting answers right from there. And I don't know if that's, I don't know if I want to be considered ways to set up certain parts of the meeting that way. But it felt like the public appreciated that. I certainly appreciated that, and it's clarity. And that's what I would see more. We were talking, I was thinking it was more of the work sessions. Yeah, those are supposed to be more, you know, it was fascinating to crowd. And then we talk about some, even though we're a regular board meeting, And right now, we're just two separate styles of coming together. And one's the very structured wording, and the other is the work section, which we feel small around. Maybe that's maybe separate, which is happens. I think the only problem is there's not public comment during work sessions, and the unique thing about that, really nice, is that haven't actually responded to anticipated public comment in a way that felt responsive, and so often the comment. Everyone, and so I just don't want to lose that part of it, if we just have work sessions. Well, and I agree with all of that, and that board meeting, I think was unique, because we had public that was really engaged on that topic, and so they were being and they were responding by comments within it. And I would love more public engagement, right? If that's the issue, is how do we get public to come? People come for 5 minutes. This is what comes over, everybody leaves, no one actually says much what we do, right? And if it was said, they just talk to us. And then we sort of feel a responsibility to communicate that public comment then during the board meeting. We get so much better. We don't actually. We just feel like we're, yeah.
Yeah. Well, wired going to every place they can go to create the energy around us, and we have that 7 or 8 times. We have sit down and look at that 5 times. 2 different times. And so this was not, they threw every, one challenge we had to talk about is the tendency for our community. This thing, call people. And we, every time the issue, and it's set up, like giving first teacher a chance. Good. That is, I appreciate the feedback on the situation. That's a reflection of how the game. Paul, Scott, me, not. That wasn't anything. We will work with them and they continue to go. We're going to tell the process. We're going to tell you how this is all. And we're going to separate things this year and then we want. And that's to do all the problem. So I want to make sure that that's clear.
And I'll stick to the authenticity from the board and from having and from the style of responding to, like, I guess I'll say that I'm really speaking on behalf of myself and yeah, I don't know. Well, wired being did or it was not definitely intentional. But there's something about that meeting where, like you were saying, like, people are coming up there and they're passionate about us, we important to them, and it's I'm just silent. Like, I'm too person. They feel very dismissive, and this was an opportunity where we can talk about it. I'm not saying that like that's possible during every meeting, but that would be possible at every time.
I also wonder though, in a scenario whose voice is net those board meetings. Right. I think that's something that sticks to me, that who shows up and who's able to show up. And
Yeah. Oh.
Speaking, so I would want to be just careful with that.
No, there's definitely this, I think, to your point, this like, whenever there is board comment, or I'm sorry, public comment, there's, for me anyways, there's this layout, like it's like channel of a certain that which has the most. And it's so that I will just like waiting to be right? Like that, and then it's really like literally like before meetings, like I'm focused, see the visual human, I am not going to check privileges, I'm going to check all of those.
But I think that also speaks to the accountability, the importance of this deal. We all take it very seriously to be to diverse communities. Hearing those voices in other ways isn't how much very recent. And I think one of our big questions is how do we that community voice is so important to us in a way that feels professional, supportive, curious.
Thinking there has been, this last year, there was a feedback we created where public comments was made. We looked at it, like 10 minutes, if somebody did a sign and stop on it, and then, right?
That one, with responding to every
Yeah,
receipt, right? And Jim's doing the response, right? And which directions it goes, right? It goes in which way it's going. One thing that I want to draw is, it seems like some of the one stuff is like the first or the fourth comment, the comment. And I think my fundamental question is that, you know, some of it's not about having a discussion, right? And so is that something that we're not these are wanting to really consider that, but I think that are really needs.
The board comment.
Well, I mean, that this deal, there's knowledge, just sort of, is that too big to like dig into to solve this?
And the next one we're thinking about is that receiving receiving comments from the public, having, you know, whatever you want, or whatever. Does the receiving public comment mean that that comment needs to become public, you know, board meeting? Like, I don't think that it necessarily does. I think that there is, and I can feel and understand that I need to sort of give a nod toward being responsive to things that I'm hearing. And I wonder which places where that can. That's exactly. So we need to, we need to find where going to be options. We have to be re-elected, we have to create a plan, we have to be responsive. And I think I hear you, might not be true that I one to share it. Usually it's when we heard one about the same time that it might. So I think that's a super open question for us. It's like, how do you do that in a way that feels accountable to the public and everyone to serve, but that feels useful for more than just a whole. Hold on.
Real quick, was not perspective, Steve Skinner, talking about the quick back. Is it a process or messaging, how people get stuff or decisions that we make? If you're saying about a person you met them 7 times, so
Yeah.
is that a purpose thing? Is that a process thing?
Yeah. My first gut reaction to that question is, like, I completely different things. Now, you're getting and 20 people are talking about an issue. We don't have to mention the operational system. I did that for it's something as simple as like nobody in the room, like school meeting, really understood what the investing was. Not one person. And so when we finally got a chance to listen to their thing, I was saying, oh, you need to so grab these guys and get their names. Like that was on the way. I think there's a, and I am highly into possibility of the political aspect of the rules. Like maybe it's as simple as the performative thing of grabbing the mic and saying, hey, Dr. Control, and we make sure to connect with it. And then we get on the thing and say, oh, I'm walking those guys out, getting this approach. That is obvious that you all should not be involved in that situation at that point. And so we have just the process. Yes. But it's like that activity of having the public watch that responsiveness and seeing that, then that is some portion of your public duty.
It's the thing, like you said, you brought it up before, you don't have this swirl that we can follow something in your operation, what it should be.
Yeah, I just think about switching all things that have been done in the name of. Like someone interfering with their children's life, doesn't mean they deserve your full attention. And so I want us to be mindful of that. And we have people that are very good at it. We can run this process. And I can say, hey, Stephen, can you go talk to that and find out what they're about? And he knows exactly how to step in the space to handle it. And I think it can be very real team. And it can be for times. So we, organization and it's strong ones. I'm trying to think about on that is, so what's happened is, as an example of what we do, is I met them in the hallway, I emailed them, met with our staff, including our council on the touch. I mean, I said, these are three topics that I understand you brought up forward, is that correct? Yes, great, let's have a meeting. So we had a pre-meeting to prep for that meeting with our staff. We met with them for an hour yesterday, and now I am typing up notes from all of that, including board policy and ORS that are, so that is a whole lot of work that I think is necessary, because they can even keep the public on. And that way you guys get a chance to, we heard this, now we get to see what the district's response is. That to me is a system that's working, but that's not an authentic in the moment exchange, but more of a going to have to sort of look like that. So I think that's a good thing about public comments, but it's a little bit different than what we're talking about regarding an authentic exchange between public entity and having it in the moment. So that was orchestrated. One with IT was orchestrated, although it made it look like it was.
We also, in this room today, we would never hold those actions. So something that's also like as closely with months and because we're perspectives. We have a lot of questions that never get closed. We have data that never get closed. We say we check books, we never get registration. And so we just don't know. They're not filling up and it's setting something. And so that's what we. But I just don't have to tell you, no.
You would, if Shannon said in the same role, we encapsulating what each work we does the last sessions, like I did in the consent agenda. And I said, yeah, you'll have that by Friday.
That's not normally happen.
I just want to say, so I work for board and things like that, and there's always this balance, right, as speakers have, I would say that these were all, the school board members, public servants, you have to balance the needs of the community, but you're human. But also, I can let the community know that you're here, and the purpose of part of this board is so that you can tell them what you're saying. Which comes from us as staff, we have this other lady that we, this issue for that, it's probably. What I'm seeing is that the sheriff is here. And the administrator, superintendent, balance the agenda of that public meeting, because that public meeting is so important to be able to get both public feedback and non-official feedback. That they sittings where they balance out what's public working conversation that's secondly you get on the rest of the public. It's the operational point, or that needs to be addressed. And so it's kind of the work share. And that's what I just like that is public.
So there's one word key, if I but I think this is actually, I've been capturing this comment of like, what is actually the purpose of our working, and we'll see another opportunity later for us to think about what's fixed and what's laughable in these cases and how we use them. We're gonna come back to these challenges and like what the working relationships need to be, working relationships. Get really clear on the bullets of like, what is the purpose of this board meeting, right? That is a meeting, a business meeting of my school board, of which the cabinet is there to provide information, missing things here, but I jotted down that it's a forum to discuss how, right? We talked about how is that going to get set. That's part of the wants. This place that we receive public comments. There's a purpose of demonstrating responsibility to the public, and I differentiate that from being reactionary. Right? So there's a different level of manner, there's a different level of care, and what needs to be responsive, and then TM highlighted for operating as feedback. And I think that's what else is the from our perspective, what else is I share understanding the purpose of
Yes. Well, we have legal responsibilities. There are things that we must attend to and make decisions on or whatever, at certain times of the year. So the legal responsibilities are there. And those have to be kind of managed along the board agenda for the year. I do.
What else?
City most, but I think it's part of, it's to champion the work that we do, on behalf of the students. It is acknowledgement, it's a celebration. It's also to identify gaps that we want to be able to fill. But the work that's being done in our district is tremendous, and I wonder if people who watch these meetings, whether they would walk away with the impression that we believe that what we're doing is amazing work, or whether they walk away with the impression of still disjointed, disconnected. I'm not sure what it's likely to uncertain about what we think of ourselves and the work we're doing. That's my personal.
I think it also is, like an opportunity or a way to model democracy, like to model really like components of a great functioning system. For students who we are, teaching how to live in the world, and for also community members, we're grappling with really gnarly things, and that we can do it in a way that is reasonable and not.
I love that. Well, we want to study out and understand. Why would we have like culture?
Adams Halls. And when I first got here. And so one of the things I wanted us to do was to immediately bring spoilers to it. And we started talking about adding student voice. So we're making sure that we're bringing something that is opinion to the meeting so that they can say, I would to establish a culture of bottom up listening, sure that students' voice out. And we are celebrating our people for things that have meaningful and
I think that has been established in a couple of points and run the risk of what the city sort of their guidelines risk of being maybe. Got a table of kids and we've got a moment at the door and the rest of the meeting is everything that's wrong. And so how do we make sure that those things are connected throughout each of them?
Sometimes the board needs a purpose for like a proclamation, and very soon, the board's support of that session.
I mean, one of the things is to monitor outcomes. Monitor and lead towards groups outcomes.
I think you guys kind of right, and then we come back, we're going to talk about some working marks that reflect this and help us to gather. I was here after at Shooters. That comes around the corner, snacks are here, spend a little last spring.
So I genuinely appreciate, what you, why you show up, what you. Gotta get my ball. Yes. Oh. Yes. It's not good.
Willis. Yeah, that's. You know.
Take a look. Yeah, perfect. And I'll do it. That's how we do it. You do great. Please.
So much.
Yeah. Like that.
You can't, we all look like this.
Just album. Maybe talk about them the next. Moving it serious. That's right.
Yeah.
You've never done it. See. She's been at home. Yeah. I think one thing that was fast.
I'm only be some things so far. It's kind of been concerned and enjoying this. Oh, yeah, I'm so good about this. Yeah. It's so. It's fine.
I've seen her job.
Yeah.
Yes. And shift back. Thank you.
No.
So, while you were great, I did, again, it's very complex. Challenges that we raised across. There were more challenges than this, but these are the challenges that rose, and I tried to even put them. Of where there was a lot of energy. So structuring our board meeting space, our board time, to really favor authentic that. And it was definitely what felt authentic, but learning how the concepts of it, but kind of umbrella. What does that look? How we set an agenda that drives work for the district or closing feedback loops about issues that were raised in and by the demonstrating trust and respect for the mutual competence of both board members and having members bring to the dialogue, to the system. Clarifying accountability, both what the definition of that is and how that applies to our roles continues to come up. Clarifying when there is interest versus when we're starting to move towards developing policy. And clarifying communication requests between board and cabinet. So this is like oh, sorry, did I get something wrong? To me,
there's definitely a street. The second bullet is actually the most important. And it's like that is structure and agenda that I was working for the school. And the first bullet may or may not be the right to reach bullet two. I think I might have heard disagreement about whether that's is actually what's needed. So I was just, no, but realize that I started working for the school. No, it's me. It's an excellent.
Other revisions? Or agreement, established, I don't think you brought in this in established, more than just the agenda.
Yeah.
More than just dialogue.
Yeah.
No, the board meeting. The first one was about structure of board meeting. So we seem to be mostly speaking about the board meetings right now, or students, right? So I was saying, I think the top for board meetings that try and work towards.
Okay,
But this is great.
so I would beyond that, there's something I'm saying. Totally this. I think that is like a big thing. So being on the board, I don't know if I wonder, I'm proposing this solution, I wonder if support leadership said that would make some guide would serve the purpose of trying to find investigations about that.
Yeah, love it. So just cross out.
I agree. Yes,
Still want to figure out how to take that.
yes. And if we can do it within the structure that's already existing, great.
Well, then we should take more work sessions. Finding other voices to those. So really, we're talking about better, like, maybe more clear definition of what is board meetings and stuff. Work session. The mayor was a lot about work sessions and most. That structure. And then the board leadership.
So maybe it's some structure. What did you call it earlier when you have board spaces?
Not one meeting.
And not sure. For maybe.
Okay, so, but this structure is about more comprehensively how we use those workspace, including board leadership, including work session.
Yes.
Okay. Good, did you hope you agree about that? To get us thinking about this, I give everyone a little piece here. And you're gonna be pretty mobile with this, so I'm gonna do an activity. Put things here so you can refer to it. It's called a choose the word column. And it's just gonna help us start thinking about what are some of the working agreements that would help us frame how we use what we want to get out of these board spaces. The meetings, the board leadership, the challenge, this is the what, but these are other things. Feedback loops, demonstrating trust and respect for each other, clarifying what we mean by accountability, if that's the term we use, clarifying when there's interest versus directive, and how we can proceed, this begin, what do we do? So this is a lot. I'm just gonna say this, and so this is a brainstorming activity. So I'm gonna get everyone to start with 2 minutes, so one, to just jot down what you think some of the agreements are. What are the things that should need wording cabinets, we should have shared understanding, shared. 2 minutes to just capture your own thoughts. Then you're going to find a pair. My suggestion is going to be that a board member and each other and pair up. And there's someone going to your table. And you're just going to share what you talked about. And it's for 6 minutes for you to do that. And then we're going to do the 2 pairs together. We'll go through to the board to talk about kind of consolidated or identification. So I heard from some people that they like to issue digits with their sticky notes. You can use the sticky notes however you want. So if you like structure
once this entire activity, the challenge is all yours. It is for me. I would have 3 stickies at the end. Or I would have 1 sticky for myself, 1 sticky that is shared between my pair, and then I consolidate a list for my moving forward. And this is really just to get us from this list of these challenges, these real challenges, how we move forward. We'll come back to other topics.
That's the third. Are we writing down, like, I think we can on television, you know, or am I actually trying to draft a recommended, just the artifact?
Any other questions? It's kind of totally tangible about what do we actually need to do? What are the things that actually need to implement?
Could some of these agreements be just what we talked about, when we start off with the space?
Great, I'm gonna set a time list. Oh, yeah, do you want to, I'm gonna set a timer for 2 minutes starting now. It's fine. Yeah, I'm sorry. My alarm clock. Your alarm clock. All right, so who's?
Yes, I have
That's like charming.
You know what? And, and then we have more.
Okay.
Here.
If I could.
Yeah.
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 started last year.
And we had to propose that.
It's. And it's what you think. Or I share with that last meeting. I didn't learn it months. If you did it to me, yeah, that. Not sure. I'm on settle. It's talking about it. They provide ways. This is. And I'm concerned that it's but we are here. Yeah, sometimes. There's something there. That and that. Yeah, you're looking at Sliz Riley, running walks there. That's the thing. Or just get out of the person who got out. I should have attended one and have it's not and setting. So how do we figure out? Since that. Not great. That's kind of their. The practical test from the early program in the service. But if it's common, we're going to get a lot of God. So we can use from
We're only if the public might actually go up and leave us on.
Yeah. Right. Then, like, we're
Either from backwards, never not enough. I would think I'm not. Like, it's like a picture.
So I can, yeah, what time do you have to fly out? I'm taking it 7:05 on. Yes. So that, I'll find Thanks. Every night. Would you say place to this? I think I'll have to really stop in the background. Yeah. I remember heard that. Stand
You very.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they are.
Seven.
We're getting scared about saving. More interesting. So,
Yeah.
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 Now.
Okay.
To rather than have things written down, kind of largely.
Small.
Small.
Okay. Okay, number one. Let's go to number one. Business board meetings. Be sure that we establish purpose and what it says.
Well, it says to revise the board.
We have the same.
The other one is
And to help us like make not just a share out of this, I would like to know from other groups, like, did you all have something? Assuming that we're
And that's actually, there's two posted up in there that is in the fire. This one? No, no, sorry, no. This one. Yes. This is the one. Something like this, like rethink, board spaces to match purpose of the meeting, right? So we have working board meetings that are for business. And we have board meetings that are workshop, and then there's also the board leadership. So, anyway, so it's defining what would happen at the business meeting, what would happen, then what would happen at the workshop meeting, but even thinking outside of like workshops that are part of the legal and behind the dice, right? So rethinking the structure and having to be more collaborative. So rethinking structure for social and design section. And purpose between those weeks for collaboration. Versus that's business, and that's just for the board. And
So one working agreement that I can pull from this, to just give us kind of a soundbite, is that the meeting structure matches the purpose. Like, as opposed to like, this is the one we have, and we put everything into that same curriculum.
But that is generally for board business meetings. That is set.
either. Either.
I thought that was where some of the folks that is a safety, because that setup is the way it's in place for the board business meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, as opposed to work sessions, we can do everything.
Yes.
But even if we felt that, we talked about like, should they come and be in the front row? Should they be like seated to the side? Is there something it's better than like.
Better than from the front to the very back, and you know, it's more fun.
Can we go?
I so want to see them float up front. Younger patch on front.
In this form follows function.
Yes.
I heard Kinsey just say, you need to be clear about providing.
Yes.
Yeah, right? Why? Yeah.
Like, moment, are we trying to actually like, are we just trying to get all these on the board? Are we trying to actually dig into each of them? What are we gonna do today?
We're gonna get them on the board, and we're gonna put just a little bit of clarification, if there's probably too much here, for whether.
I think just to put a little more on this piece, the intention was exactly what you said to me, which is that like an official board meeting has a function and that authentic communication is not. That's and so like being clear what we use those official board meetings for and the structure of them, but then also rethinking how we use work sessions and board leadership, be collaborative. The physical space can be offered. That's where there's more opportunity for authentic communication to occur. So then we're really intentional about what kind of meeting is this and what is the structure for that and then the outcome for that. So that when everybody goes into that, like this is not a meeting to do this dialogue right now, because this is an official board meeting, whereas let's talk about this at this board work session. Maybe we are able to make learning and authentic communication. So just being really clear around the purpose of each of those we have so that we can function here.
Yes, and we can still maybe revise a formal board meeting in some ways too, even if it's not
Yeah.
dialogue.
Right, yes, right. Yeah.
We talked about it too, to our board meetings, we now look at, we got to set stuff, we do all the different things. But then after this thing, hey, operations, everything else we need to add to this, so we have an opportunity to talk about things we just haven't been in. Or do we also get all those different things we've heard from the community through me or through individual board members, get it to Steve, get it to Jan, whatever, so we can make sure that the cabinet has an understanding this is coming from the community beforehand, they can maybe address some of those things, with that part of that too, so that was being just one also.
So I want to talk a little bit about the specifics of the business board meeting agenda. One of this, I have a lot. The first thing I want to do is that chair and vice chair submit. Chair and vice chair submit to board members requests for board meeting topic. Number one.
Wait a minute, didn't we want Shirley to finish her piece?
But this is part of that.
That's why I'm interjecting, is just because it's part of that piece.
Okay, so you're talking about clear.
No,
Okay.
the second one was that I suggest we change the intent of the superintendent's report and the intent of board comment. And have the superintendent's report be like my 2 or 3 things that I'm gonna report on. And then the last thing is always, and board members, I am opening the dialogue for conversation about something that's great in your grits, or you've gotten feedback on, or there's a need to follow up on. And that's when that happens. And board comment is no longer whatever, like, you're not gonna be looking down the page. It's your opportunity to engage with stakeholders, constituents, whatever that topic might be, so that in the superintendent's report, or capturing if there's some tension points that needs to have some talk, further talk, dialogue, and follow up on, that it lives in the superintendent's report, so that board comment becomes very clearly a dialogue directly with the public.
Yeah. And
That was all.
that's what we, yeah.
Yeah, we did something.
And that's kind of this is clearly on a communication plan for the flow of information and a chance or an opportunity if there's some kind of urgency.
And then the,
Yeah.
in, or between meetings or all.
Always.
Okay, so I just want to name that.
There's like meetings.
So we just, we kind of started. Okay. It's good. I think that's really valuable. So Steve offers, that there's a process for the chair and the vice chair to submit topics for the.
Or business board meeting topics.
But it was about us asking all board members,
Right.
not just us submitting.
Right. So that's board, business.
It's like
Yeah.
chair and vice chair ask. other
Ask
board
board-
members.
Other board members, what requests, what topics are you wanting to hear about? Yes. Okay.
This for agenda meetings.
Yes.
Do we have, any sort of, like, what is the time of this?
Time in this is really topic centric, so it's hard.
I'd like to add, I guess, then to the superintendent report, which is that I think we need to talk about the idea of no surprises in that dialogue and agree upon what that means. So it needs to be. Yeah. I'm not agreeing to this. I wanted to find.
Yeah, and I was gonna, well, my follow-up was like, is this no surprises?
I think it specifically relates to that because you just gave an opening to, and I'm gonna ask the board if there's anything that's grating their, that's bothering them. And I think that's where no surprises is most likely to come up.
Should we define what no surprises?
It's the second, it's to the one right below that, not, it's to the dialogue, or superintendent agreement.
Yeah, thank you for that. Your partner can talk about moving the plan options for the next report to be able to ask speed questions that have been completed, so that it's not
Yep.
too long. But also, we had said, like, we need to give him a warning, like, hey, we're gonna bring this up, and we come prepared to that.
Absolutely.
In a valid way, right, so the best information for your team member.
And that might be a place where there's a little bit of an opportunity for authentic engagement with a cabinet member also. We can, it's depending on the nature of the discussion. That could be a place where I might ask somebody to come up.
I guess my question is, why would a board member bring it up then as opposed to submitting it as a topic for a future board?
There's two completely different issues here, I think, that we're talking about. I think it's like, I don't want to talk about class size. Is it should be agenda items, that should be a thing that we're talking about. 20 people have hit you up at Fred Meyer. We need to talk about this issue. That continues to rear up, feels like it might be something that, hey, I want to ask you about this, the superintendent. Those, I think, allow for responsiveness, or one that Cameron and I were discussing is, what if it's like, you said you were gonna do this 2 months ago, we still haven't heard anything about it, what's going on with that? Like, that fits very nicely in there. And it feels like it's an opportunity to demonstrate some mutual accountability that separates the, like, I was explaining how, at least for me, and I had a couple of cabinet members have said there's kind of this collective, like, during board comment, because we don't know what's coming, and it might be above, right? Like, it might be, oh my God, that's gonna be 17-hour work.
But how about that same thing not just happen now in the superintendent report?
At least that's when we're intentionally dialoguing about those things. And so the board comment, like, I think there's an important, this community likes the use of the board comment. I want to maintain that, keep that. But I think it's more about dialogue with the community. Whereas the superintendent's report is like, what are the initiatives and topics, or frustrations or issues that we're dealing with? And it fits that. And it's more predictable, more predictable. And if there's something like, people I'm gonna ask you about, okay, give me some specific, got it.
Okay, so as long as, so the yes ands, I also want to make sure we have a conversation about professionalism and those surprises and how respectful questions get asked and like, how can we do that in a way that feels reasonably good?
Yeah, and I will, I didn't say this before, but I'll say it now. Trust isn't something you do, it's an output of the things that we are working. And so to me, building structures that we all follow and live by are going to build and elicit trust. Trust is an outcome.
So in the state of those items, how do we, what's an agreement around? How many state or something? What is, how do we define that?
I think that's a bigger, I'm not sure we should do that right now. I just think we need to do it.
I have a follow-up question around the topic. It's like, I want to know that this is something that should go on an agenda versus something that's urgent that we want to address. How would we know what's different? Let's talk, what would be the thing to do that? What do we want to? And maybe you use other examples.
Well, agenda seems it's time for teams to pull more information together. To put my heads up, and also it takes some intention out of care. And then urgency for me seems things that are top of community need or concern. A couple examples have come up. The e-bike situation, we that urgency piece. Somewhere the devices jump to that. But I think some of that also is informed by what happens in board leadership sessions. That folks are seeing in a board leadership with board members and feel the concerns that are percolating, questions. And then that can inform to potential agenda items, and that this is clearly urgent for some folks, but that.
It seems like safety is something that causes urgency in place often. That could be emotional or, more physical safety. But I guess, I think where we always run into danger is things becoming urgent because somebody is loud, like why is sort of their response, or they match what is like a personal itch for you.
And that
can't be urgent. So I don't know how to guard against that, but I think we just, have that as an open statement of like what causes urgency.
Yeah, one of the areas that I have.
Yes.
It's like the time bound. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes there's deadlines for certain things that can raise something.
One of the things that I'm gonna struggle with, and I don't have an easy answer with this, is if I am in a disagreement with a board member about whether or not this warrants a discussion, and whether or not it warrants further engagement at a board meeting. And this is an example that it will have these, and I think for sometimes it's like, we can talk about that. And then it's like, okay, and there's a policy right now that we have that says anything can be agendized if you can get 3 board members to ask for it. And there's how we're going to step into that space where it's like, I would rather do that in 2 months where we can put together a presentation and somebody would say, for example, no, I think we should talk about this at your next superintendent. And so how we can engage in that kind of tension, I think it's going to be more like kind of what Carrie was talking about, this, the idea of trust and no surprises and how do you step into that with good intention?
So for me, the picture, it's, we look at software uses and technology uses versus behavior. Has to go to that. But then it's become urgent when kids behavior getting so bad. You know what I'm saying? So that being honest, it's coming to good.
And there's just gotta be room for leadership for board members to get their itchy stuff out, and there's just something now. Board leadership
That was
packed.
one of my suggestions was, this is for board leadership, is that board members have every bit as much right to spend a topic for board leadership discussion as you do. There's no reason why that should be happening.
But that's not enough.
No, I'm saying right now, we should make that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah,
Agreed.
so like the 4 year plan that has success.
Yeah, which then changes, but that changes how you all need to use the time, because you've been using it in really specific ways to fill up the 90 minutes. And so in order for us to have time to help contribute to that event, you all will have to, that then means you can't review, necessarily a board conversation, or so we just have to.
You know, I'm asking the rest of the board members that we know we have board leadership and you know who's on board leadership. If there is things that you want to talk about, you want to see something ahead of time, you want to see that we're going ahead of time. It's
It would have to be ahead of.
yeah.
Sent to all of us.
Right, right.
We all have 2 rounds of.
3 months to get the full seat.
You have something else around that?
No, I just want to make sure that got on. I think they're creating, that would be a new standard and a new dynamic. I think we should do that as.
Here's one like, okay, where's the choice with the office?
What?
Student voice, where does it happen to our agreements? You know, they are part of what we do. So where is it to all these agreements?
Yeah.
It's critical for them to get their input, especially from class.
I think it's for revising the board
Yeah.
agenda that needs to be.
I think the agenda versus urgent is gonna need more work, because I think even the example around student behavior is getting really bad, it's urgent, well, who says who? Is it somebody who's got a million or bonded about something, or is it like if they're imminent safety? Is this time bound in a way, like, let's see this as translation to the patient, like, it's because I forgot to submit it. And so, or like, well, because I really want to do this thing, but like time bound in a meeting, we could not have predicted this and put it on an agenda for right now. Versus, well, we could have, someone just saying they care about it. And so like some action criteria to like filter it through, and if it doesn't meet those, then it can go on the future. I just think that there's still a lot of subjectivity in.
For this, yesterday, the board, this discussion around data versus anecdotes. And I'm curious how that factors into influence perspectives and when we think about continuing improvement. Yeah. With anyone discuss the normal amount.
We had a brief conversation about the idea. This idea of what is a directive, like that really unless you're changing, like something that is already formally in place, then nothing is really a directive, it's sort of like lives in the land of authority. And then it would use discretion to say, hey, this is really I don't know if that family enough used to.
Does I said,
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think what I just heard is that topics that we want feedback on or that we're going to make action on. It sounds like now that we're from planning perspective, like even the board agenda for the board leadership is something that we plan for, right? It's like big planning for it and sort of producing something to get ready for that. So that feels different than kind of Sue's discretion to be able to say what it becomes.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. And there will be times you'll say, why isn't this on board leadership? And I will say, because it needs to be. None of you asked, but we need you to know about this. And there will be, and that's always going to be true. And then what we want to incorporate into that is that you all have very real wants and needs that we need to find ways to also incorporate that in. And we can do that. It's all, like, there's a lot of behind the scenes planning that goes into this. So there would just be some of that natural back and forth dialogue that we, this is a board leadership topic. No, let's go ahead and agendize this. Well, this is going to be an action item, so it has to be.
Yeah, I think that's all right. I think just the conversation around directives is requires, it's like a new French stick.
In terms of the next president, like this, our conversation here is really about how probably. What else can you bring on? Prices.
I think we landed on, and it's not new, I think we're just sort of solidifying it, that if there is a query that comes up from the public or in some way to leadership, that they would ask the question of both Steve and Buckler, or maybe just Steve, and then they could expect a response to the entire report. And I think that we have been most recently, but I don't think that always is.
I want to. We have a process in place right now that I want to circle back in, that I think I want to. That I want to make sure that we are utilizing most effectively. And I think that we do this. That's seriously. That I think it's important for board members, and that is this idea that anytime there is something that happens in public comment, that there is a want or a desire from a board member to hear a follow-up, that just grabbing the mic and looking down the dais saying, please. Like, we're not going to do that with all of them. But anyone that you want, or anyone that my community or any of our cabinets, we're going to follow up on this. And we will bring that information back. If we get it done early enough, we can all. And we'll include it in the board consent for information following month. That is the same. And also, if you recall, anytime you get asked a question and we have to say, we're going to get back, we will always include those questions in the follow-up in the board consent for information following them as well. And I want you to take advantage of that as a tool of politics. Like, if there's something you want somebody to take in public comment to see it here, you want to might say, I'd like a follow-up with that. That's an intentional system we're putting in place for that purpose and for us to have. Like Paul described earlier, that's been going on for months, and it's been going on really well. If we have like for places where it's like, I look down the thing and I say, hey, it's like got it already, please, on whatever. Like, there might be more opportunities for board members to step in.
So we talked a little bit about that too, and what we realized the system currently exists as it relates to public comment, but not necessarily relates as it comes like comment in the public. That our board members are fielding it. So is there a way while they may respond to that board comment or something like that to be able to say, this seems. Well, what is that? So what open that?
So that's for leadership, right? We're not looking at that.
Sure, it might be a board leadership topic, if it's something that needs to be in the public, then it would be part of the superintendent.
But both of which would come to us or through the chairman, vice chair, something.
It doesn't have.
Or email.
Yeah, it could be, hey, I really get involved. Quite, I wondered to see the point of, like, I have full authority in the superintendent's report, to talk about things that are just niche at my wheels. And there, I don't have any problem whatsoever, I've got a heads up, but the same thing as you all are doing for the public. That's the difference.
And when we were talking to you, suggested that an opportunity for that discussion as well. Potentially in there, but also it is important to note that this is the end of the meeting, right? So I'm hoping that just like we were talking about, this could make a meeting go 4 hours instead of 2 hours, right? And so I think being mindful of what goes in there versus what goes into, you know, assisting.
Yeah, and the way I would do that is, let's say Carrie said, hey, I'd ask this question of 7 people this week, I think just follow along. And we go back and forth, and we're 20 minutes in, then the natural next step would be, hey, rather than us trying to solve this right now as unagendized item, there's obviously a lot of interest in this, let's agenda this month, and we'll have a public comment or public discussion on it. Like, there's a natural process that we want to get into with, like, wow, if we're still talking about this, it's obviously bigger than we should be doing without letting you know where.
So you and the chair, yeah, I like that. So we don't cross. Correct.
I still have confusion around those surprises. Sorry, I think it's important because I felt you just, in your suggestion, you have opened up an opportunity in board meetings for board members to ask you questions about things that were not on the agenda that by definition are a surprise. So if we're just asking, we're Steve gets surprises, but not cabinet.
Can I put what I think? Yeah. What I heard is that if you're getting those things, that you bring those up for the first time in the board meeting within the report. But that if you're getting 7 questions from the public, you're gonna take those to Marcus. Marcus and Pete are gonna figure out, is this an agenda for 3 months now? Is this something we can put on more leadership? Can I just move this into the SUPS report? One, basically, we're gonna put.
Okay, very long. So I just want to clarify, are we all agreeing, board members and cabinet, that basically we will never bring up a topic in a board meeting that we have not previewed to the superintendent admin? Because that's a big shift.
I would say that in the superintendent report, if it was like, hey, Steve, I've been hit with this for the last 7 times I've been as Fred Meyer, I'd like to have a conversation during the superintendent's report. I think that's always, I don't ever want to stop authentic dialogues. But expecting you to be prepared to enter into that dialogue without a heads up is you're going to get a whole lot of disappointing.
Yeah. Raising the issue and saying, I'd really like you to figure out when the right time is for us to talk about this, it's okay.
Absolutely.
Saying, we need to have a conversation about this right now. And it's going to be something. Okay, that's super helpful. Then the other kind of no surprises that might fall under this umbrella that I have heard from the cabinet over the years is getting questions during a board meeting that they weren't prepared. And I think that's a whole nother category that is worth talking about because it's come up so many times.
If it's an agenda item, not sure we can do anything about it. Our job is to be as prepared as we can be for that. And the only thing I ask is that we would have the discretion to be able to say, we'll get back to you with that answer, and then that system goes into the, like, we would get you that answer as soon as possible.
Is there an opportunity that it's not super important leadership that
Sometimes.
Point.
You're going to stump us sometimes, and we still have obligation to answer that to the best of our ability, and when we can't, then we have obligation to follow up with.
To me, the bigger issue with the first one, the like getting questions as part of a topic that we use on the agenda, that the specific question you can answer in a moment is any professional should be able to say everything. The first question around, can I bring up a topic, hey, in the SUPS report, hey, I got seven people have told me X, can you look into that? To me, is a bigger concern because our community wraps families and those become reality. You know, I've had 7 people say that this thing is happening, that might not be happening at all. It might be that, and so to me, I don't know, I mean, you don't care, whatever, but it seems like the danger, the no surprises piece of, once something is said in a public meeting, it becomes reality. It takes a life of it. But there are some things that maybe you did hear from 7 people, you're genuinely asking a question, but like the narrative that rolls out forward is like, impossible to put it up and, you know what I mean?
When I go back to the original, the number one way that should be addressed in the very first place, we talk about loosely, but I haven't spoken to right now, and that is that I want to make sure that all of that is available to all of the board for any questions, as long as we do it procedurally well. And that might be the very first place all of these come. It's like, this is, I've been hit with this 7 times, and this is email to Kinsey, CC, Steve Cook, every single time. And then when Kinsey answers, Kinsey's going to make sure I'm CC'd, and not just answer Gary, but all of the boards. Everybody sees the question, everybody's the answer. And that to me is probably the thing that's happening the most common, because there's like, if there's a response, it's want to get that, that's gonna be the quickest answer. And it doesn't have to be the place, like I see the superintendent's report, that opportunity to have dialogue is around areas where we said we would do something and we're late getting there, or there's continues to be lingering issues about something we've been talking about. That's like, as far as a new topic, I think the first place you're gonna turn to is, hey, I just heard this, boom, there you send it, it goes to Stephen Duvall, Stephen replies to me and replies to someone.
And then the last category, which you can tell us if this is not, we shouldn't be discussing it here, but I believe we heard feedback both in your pre-conversations and previously about the board not always showing, not always demonstrating a professional culture around asking questions and making comments. And so that also, I don't know whether everyone knows, I think that, if we need to talk about that, we should, and we don't.
Yeah, I'm curious from the conversation that you all had, with anyone have an arm around, the, how do we better engage with each other?
But yeah, I was, something that came up for me, just using, respect for professional, form of communication that you would do in the workplace or anything. But also, tagging on Kinsey's point of that everybody who's in their role expects some questions that relate to their expertise. And I think everybody on the board knows that nobody could possibly answer everything right there. It's totally okay to circle back. But also that is expected as professional. I mean, it's like my work too, that somebody else can that happen there. Back to. So I want to have that open, but I also want to have that. I think it's really important how we speak to each other, be assertive, but respect for people's expertise and their responsibility. And then that's the way.
Do you speak to?
Well, I don't look at that as a negative. I'm just looking at it. Explaining what you're really interested in, like a certain specific topic. This is where I really want to know more about,
I'm sorry, what was your question?
I said, you need to be assertive.
I mean, no,
Well, I think that when I'm sort of feeling the same way as that. It's sort of new experience. Maybe 10 times. I mean, well, we all want to finish the bottom. No,
I don't want people to be going in circles and start to open these boxes, but, you know, if I'm really interested in that particular thing, I think it does help to be a sort of, and this is what I'd love to have more information about. When you speak to that slide a little bit more in detail, really first slide, particularly if they haven't gave a heads up, we want that slide to stay on. But if you can still do it in a thoughtful, respectful manner of the expertise, right? Can't get our slides perfect, we can't get our delivery perfect, but I think that should be expected on the part of board members who are participating in learning more.
Yeah, I think where we're coming from is that I don't think it necessarily, I mean, for anyone, so, I mean, like, you know, raising their work with good ones. And I'm saying that it shouldn't matter how something is delivered, what matters is that someone brought it. And that it should be addressed. I would just push, I think there's been times, and I don't know this exact configuration of our permanent board members, there have been times that there's been a question asked, in my opinion, it felt like, has the district ever thought about, is a sentence then that just, I think, riles several of them. And it's followed by something that feels a little bit like not being a bunch of idiots. And that's not a quote, but, you know, but has the district ever thought about maybe, you know, getting better at teaching? It's sometimes there are some boring questions that feel like they're not really questions, they're jabs with an upward and and I see that, like, that's happened to me in this past year, and I've seen that happen to some of my colleagues in this past year. So I mean, sometimes it's probably I'm trying to formulate a question, it's maybe it came out, or, you know, but sometimes I think there are questions that have assumptions underneath them. And so it's not the question, it's the assumption that they're built on. Like, why aren't we, is an assumption that we aren't, or, you know, something is bad. So, yeah.
Also just be a lack of familiarity
Yes.
with, yeah, something related to the topic. Because there's no way everyone, right, what you're.
One of the things. We'll go back to another assumption, and that is that just because a question is asked doesn't necessarily justify that it gets answered, because there are tons. That question, the answer to that question creates a tremendous amount of work. And I will tell you that we'll be a little bit protective of if this request, because there isn't an answer that we currently, that will take us 4 months to build a database to answer that question, is like, there's going to be flexibility in that.
Really, but just that answer.
Yeah.
I think often we feel like we've done that, it's just like it never gets answered, no one told us it would take us building a new system and, you know, 4 months so much time. So that would be great. And I just want to own over my years, I am sure I have done, you know, asked questions that are passive aggressive, a comment that was really a question, all the things. And I think it's helpful for us to keep the branding of like, we're in public. And what I want a principal to ask, to speak to a teacher this way in a staff meeting, what I want a teacher to speak to a student this way in a classroom, like just remembering even though we're in public and we're all adults, so that is to me, trying to think like, what's the tone?
Tammy shared this. That was our groups, to underline as a super confidence in the institutions that we have. That's. There's also a few writing questions that feels like they're, agenda and. The same as measure and monitor, which I think is a thing that is like being clear about what we do. After there's good anyone else have more around what accountability needs in our roles.
We have it listed as a very. That's real good.
Versus, the word accountability can mean different things to different people, so it can be interpreted things, right? Measure and monitor are clear. Those generally don't get interpreted, but when we are using the word accountability, I often think what the use is monitoring, measuring, right? That's like following that.
See, for me, a lot of this, all goes back to as board members and it's back in problem, I'll say this, when we talk to people in the community, how do we answer for everything? Because sometimes people will bring stuff to this and you will go, now I have this, build this, three things I want to do. What do you do information? Number two, who told you that? They come from the office, or they come from here, or is the second hand? Right? How do you get information? I find it in exact way without you guys get it in the football games on Saturday, just people done that. I've done that before, and that person is actually So but then last time. But then here's the last one, is that when I asked them this first thing, the last one, after they make comments to say something, I go, what did you vote in? They put it back on me, you bring it to me. What did you vote for? And then they shut up real quick. But you see what I'm saying? I'm trying to get back to that. Hey, you bring it all this to me, so what do you want to do about it? Like, since you asked me to do something, like, or it's just, I don't know what is it, so. I'm getting better at that, so we don't have score moments or the misinformation to get out there or whatever. So we're trying to be better at tackling it.
We're also talking about, borders, I should remind you, this is an executive. But you're talking to the teacher. Teacher that. Heard the entire song. And then facilitate that. And if they're listening to the principal, the requirements. Everybody talk to you in this situation, follow up. So anybody we can kind of interact and say, this is it's probably, that's being talking to teacher first, with that resolve up there versus letting the board work. I mean, we do that as very fun.
Yeah. I did do that, but I think this is where it was pausing when you were talking about anecdotes versus data. And I think board members do potentially get different and important insight and feedback that we also would like cabinet to respect and appreciate. I think like Tad was an example where like if there's, you know, I think between us all, we'll probably talk to at least 25 different parents who first came to us and said, I'm concerned about their identification or the actual supports my kid is getting. We send them back and say, you know, have you talked to the teacher? Yes, still didn't work. Have you talked to the principal? Then they come back to us and say, it actually, like, I'm still not satisfied. And I'm not sure that all the time at that point that they would actually take the next step of like going to the superintendent or the deputy superintendent. They might let it die but fester. They might decide to pull out and go to private school. And we get, but they come to their school board members sometimes because they're friends, they know us, we're out in the community saying, talk to us. And so I think sometimes we struggle of like, we have these anecdotes that actually feel like a trend and meaningful, and you may not ever, they may not work their way up the system in the way our feedback loops currently exist. And they actually have the potential to harm the system and people leaving or being disgruntled. And so I think there's also just this like, I think we also want our like anecdotes to be respected and heard, especially because we try really hard to like send people back to the school initially. And it's only when stuff has come to us like really repeatedly, it hasn't been solved at the school site that, I don't know.
And we waste it and
And, you know, that's happened, not choosing anyone to move with that, you know.
But with that one in particular.
Yeah.
I would argue that with your position, that I think is privileged for a thing to us, that other parents don't.
I should be happy to, right? It's like, I want the system to be better and, right? Well, it sounds like just hearing, you know, that like, take back your teacher and talk to the principal. The next step is taking it to students early. So I think maybe we all need to calibrate too around what is our complaint system. We built some new tool-based stuff, but would we all say the same thing to someone? And I try to talk to the teacher, I try to talk to the principal. Would each one of us give the same advice to that person as far as we know that? Because we should all be giving them some advice, whatever. But we do have systems where if we're seeing friends in our complaint data, we are going to do something with that different than this one parent who, you know, may or may not be like that, would be very specific to their kid versus there's 25 that have worked their way through it.
So was it filing complaints?
But yeah, I mean, yes, that is set in our process, but I think to me, the fact that we are probably not all clear on how to respond to, like, first of all, leave me alone. Second of all, you know, what do I tell someone who hasn't even talked to the teacher, who has talked to the teacher, maybe who needs cooperation?
Yeah, I feel like it's clear to teacher and principal, and then it becomes less clear.
Yeah.
We talked about one of the roles of the helpful in presenting some questions, which comes important. And we knew everything we were kind of starting over. So it is important. But it's yeah, and it's really smart and how we
Yeah. Sometimes I think we just feel a little put down, like we're just hearing anecdotes, we're just hearing a couple stories, like we have the data, we have, you know, and so I just want to make sure that you understand how that feels in our profession. We're like, here, and I never bring something until I've heard it from, you know, half a dozen to a dozen people, but saying something that becomes meaningful to me. And so I just want to make sure that there's a way for those anecdotes to be heard and respected and not just feel like it's board members when they're like with an angry parent and we get passionate and then we, you know.
And when we're groups of parents or community members who we don't have the trust in, I think of like Marcus, just to name on the Black community. If Marcus is hearing from our Black community more because we have not hearing, because that's feedback in its own habits too, and so, yeah.
And that's the point too, Carrie, about the text. It's like, in that presentation, we were fully transparent in terms of like, there are areas we can grow, like, right? So it's like, that is a situation where there was data and there was kind of a line. So like, definitely hear that those situations, I don't want to say that they're not valid realities for our folks. So I just think it comes down to like, what's the mechanism in those for that to be handled in the same uniform way, no matter who's here.
Yeah, and I think that was a really good example where at least a lot of the parents I tend to watch that meeting and it really took their anger down because they were like, okay, they acknowledged that it's not working well, which is what I felt. They acknowledged that they're going to work on it. Now I can like give them some space to work on it. So I think that's a good example of where it helps.
I know we want to keep talking with this solution. It's absolutely definitely this is our slowing past a lot.
I want to say, one of the things I would say about being a cabinet member is like the B&B. You don't hear. So one of the things I would balance. Yes.
Yeah.
We get so mad.
I still do, regularly, so I don't see children anymore in my practice, but when I'm talking to the patients, always they're like, you know, I have the kids. And they tell me, oh, yeah, they are, oh, they go to school, they go to school, how is it going? And 95% of the time, all I hear is with viruses, right? Like,
I hear that all the time from people, and for the most part, people haven't lived experience.
You know who doesn't?
Yeah.
We don't, I'm telling you, we don't.
And to Paul's point earlier, it's important for us to talk about that in board meetings too, as Kenzie's point, what we say becomes perception, and as much as we might not want it to be true, board meetings are a branding opportunity, and we love our district and we want it to thrive, and we need to brand it as mostly working really well on behalf of kids, and there are gaps and we need to get better, and we can certainly do a better job of trying to.
That's something you can talk about. Some messaging and some. You know, place in the rest of, well, sorry, I'll just read it.
Yeah, and we have to be real about our gaps and our stuff. We've got it.
We had some very good discussion about for us, the work that we have been really want to figure out, for that work for the state and how we want to figure that out during the border. And so my commitment to all is to simplify this and ask for where we need it. But I've also heard, we're still gonna need to figure it out, and that's over is we have to decide to have a conversation on better, and we knew we were going to solve everything in one day. And so how do we relax? How do we start with some of these building agreements and then come back together and have some more leadership, and have the board discussion. That would be one of the plans, make that as an aspect. And I'd love to just a quick, chat on this about, and that's action, and we all want to take our time to really become big, that we'll get over.
Before we go, say one thing, every single one thing you've been here, thank you so much. I know, because I'm going to be looking around, see that door. And then lastly, we take a picture, you should show you what some of that good. See the picture of stuff that we're doing, we're doing. And also, we have help my first year. Thanks.
We're gonna have a picture. It is sad. We have to go in, especially whatever. And we have 3 tables that we connect. The room has to be quick tickets or quick next actions.
I think that makes sense. To continue committing to others. Things. I think that's the thing.
Thanks.
Which is.
I'm just grabbing it.
That's everybody.
I can't see it on this one.
That's, opportunity to dialogue with different people that I'm with everyone to need to from others.
I won't do space appreciative, and I won't be having a space.
Just feeling hopeful.
Really grateful that our my colleagues and committed and to doing the work to actually operationalize.
I'd say I'm grateful for this discovery that was uncovered in the space today. I've learned so much, and I would love, I know we talked about this with like, I love this team. I was gonna acknowledge her, the, just really, like the little, whatever, flywheel is getting going and now. So I to just continue, and then the whole event. I think I would love to hear them as like key roles between all of us. There's a lot of knowledge and experience there.
I'll get you.
Just thankful for the open dialogue. I felt like we could have this conversation with respect on professional manner. You said that it was swayed.
Forward to different types of conversation. So, or the.
Yeah. There's one.
I just, I know that they want. Somewhere spot. Or I'm even with that conversation. Awesome. So I would be really open and vocal for their problem.
No, I'm yourself quite sure what the board had was what I heard in our conversation was a lot of professional perspective. And I heard board members that wants to say that first hearing major ideological differences. This is like really good. This is great, so I'm really encouraged.
I went into today feeling like step parent of a teenager that didn't want to follow the rules. And the biological parent on one side of me trying to get it fixed. And I was nervous, I'll be honest, I was very nervous to see my fixed supervisor in the city of Boston asking of me to trust the process. And then on the other side of that are the people that I am most close to in the work, saying, all right, this is how it goes, and just not know it. And then I used the word nut job, and people come up to me and say, you said nut job in an open meeting, and I was
Two more
like,
times.
yeah, 2 times.
And 2 more.
I was like, what is going on? I'm not understanding. And I'm like, we had a great start in professional, and then it hit me. I was thinking, what? So I want to appreciate you all. And thank you for making this a much safer space than I expected. Because this was going to be a challenge. You wouldn't cut it, and it wasn't because of what was going on. So, okay.
Oh, no. I'll just say I wasn't sure what to expect coming into this either. But I think it was a really good conversation and I'm excited to see like where we go. I love change. So, but if change is that, I'm all in. Yeah. It's like, wow. Well, I'm really grateful for the testing on these conversations were established in this time so that we can enter into this phase of various things. So I wish you this. And grateful that we want to keep saying use of that so that it one of my favorite statements is one who is superman process. Yes, we process. But it's about how do you work? You work with humans. How will you work with different? And I think law. So let's do share.
Yes. I'll make board meeting after the first.
Nice to thank you all for coming to be here. Appreciate it very much. And to be Hey, what's it? Picture right here. It'd be great. Call us in the back, please.